through that, like, I ended up meeting Virgil that same night, which was really cool. Like, he gave me a lot of, like, knowledge that I feel like a lot of people drag Virgil for, but
What's up, guys? Welcome to the podcast, Culture Vulture, third installment. Casey,
Raphael.
I like that name. My name's Kyron. That's a good name for the podcast, Culture Vulture.
Culture Vulture?
Thank you.
What's super funny is, like, I told other people, like, the name Culture Vulture was probably going to be the name of the podcast, and I got, like, backlash for it.
Really?
Just because of the whole idea of, like, the Culture Vulture.
Oh, but like you should just like take it and put a positive light on it.
Yeah, kind of. It's just like, or also
you're
like
making
it
in on the culture. Like that's what I got from it, at least.
Oh, you see different perspectives. I actually like that.
Yeah.
I actually like
you're
that.
A vulture for the culture, but you're not stealing from people. You know what I mean?
Okay. Look at him already giving meaning to the name of that podcast. But I mean, what's up? We got Goss Wage in the building. Kyron Warwick, the one and only.
Yeah. Got me, Kyron Warwick. I'm on the podcast. I'm happy to be here. Really excited. To have you. We're gonna get into some topics for you guys. So really happy to be here.
Let's get into it.
Yeah.
How did you step into the Montreal fashion scene?
Montreal fashion. I started in Montreal fashion mainly through my YouTube channel, I would say. Like, I started that years ago, probably like 2013, 2014 is when I started taking it seriously, but I had it earlier on, obviously. I know Casey from back in like high school time, so it's crazy. So he's seen like me starting the channel to like where it is now, so it's really cool to see the whole progress of things. But mainly it's just been YouTube and then things that have stemmed off of YouTube. So I started with just like showing clothing, reviewing clothes, lookbooks, other things like that. And then it turned into like me seeing what other opportunities I could get through YouTube. So like I started doing styling. Currently I'm doing like consulting, like creative consulting, things of that nature. So yeah, so that's like kind of where I occupy the fashion space. And I'm currently starting to design as well too, so.
It's actually sick. Yeah. Just like from seeing you from high school to now, it's like the growth is crazy. I mean, it's just like it's cool having like knowing someone for that long and just see them constantly growing. It's like motivation. It's like part of the reason I'm also doing the podcast is just like from seeing like your work ethic, it like rubs off on people.
And we both have been like so obsessed with like media, like just like all types of forms of media, whether it be music or fashion or even like just like interview content. Like we've always been the type to like if there's an artist we would like make sure to watch the interview as well, and not too many people do that, I feel like. So like podcast is a good reflection of that, just like getting more insight on creatives and things like that. So that's why I like podcasts right now. That's why Remy and I started it too, and I like this one too, so I'm happy there's more.
A lot of podcasts have been popping up like as of recently, and I find podcasts cool because it's a different way of people to learn.
For sure,
you know,
it's all for the better. Like just getting an insight on people that are not even if they're relevant, not relevant. That's all subjective, right? So as long as they're interesting, I think hear a good conversation.
Like a break into their mind, just kind of see what's going on.
Yeah. It's cool to see how people think and feel. So
So where did you grow up? Influences early on?
I grew up mainly here. I was born in Philadelphia, but like my inspiration kind of comes from, I would say, there a lot because of my dad. Like my dad was like one of the main people that got me into fashion. Right. He kind of just implanted in my head to be presentable. Like clothing is like the main thing that people see. Like as soon as you step out into the world, like people aren't gonna judge your personality. They're gonna judge the way you look. So like it's important to have like a really presentable attire, no matter what. So like a lot of his inspiration was like his climate. So like in Philly, it's very uniform based. So like lots of polo, G-Star, stuff like that. So it wasn't necessarily my style, but like I got a lot of my like sneaker influence from him, I would say. Like we got releases like every week, and like he got like a lot of privilege back then. Like they would put aside releases for him too.
Oh,
so
that's
it was
actually
crazy.
sick.
So I was seeing that culture like ever since I was young. Like we would go in and there would be like a stack of like 7 shoes, and like it would be 7 for him and then like 7 for me, and then I just pick whatever I want from them.
That's actually sick.
So that's like what got me influenced with sneakers and stuff like that. And then it kind of transitioned into high end too, because like Philly kind of went into this realm of like appreciating designer and stuff like that. So I used to see like Balenciaga pamphlets in my dad's room and being like, what is that? And like just going through that, and then that's what got me interested into like high end from so young. And a lot of my peers in YouTube weren't really focusing on high end because it was so like unreachable, you know what I mean? And I just thought of it as like, instead of getting like 10 things on Karma Loop, I could just get like one thing from Balenciaga and like appreciate it a lot more. So that's what I ended up doing, and it kind of like set me apart. Also like getting into like high-end streetwear, like Bape and all of that, Pyrex, Hood by Air. Those were like the things that kind of blew up my channel in that time. So yeah.
Did you ever get into like cultural hobbies in Philly, like motorbiking?
Oh my god, yeah. I had a quad. So I had a quad in
I didn't even know that.
Philly.
What?
That's awesome.
I had a blue Raptor. It was so sick. I loved
Okay,
it so much.
so-
And then my uncle had a garage filled with a whole bunch of ones. It was so sick.
That's actually so sick.
Yeah. And but like the thing is like kind of do it at your own risk. In Philly, I never really rode quads or MXs out there, just because I felt like it was kind of dangerous in Philly, especially like if you get chased, like it's your call to like get out of the chase. Like that's how they treat it in Philly, and they do it on the highway. Like they don't care. In Florida, it's like a bit more country. Like that's where I had my personal quad. That's like it's on your own terms, and like if the police are called on you, they're just like put it back home. Like that's it. But in Philly, it's like you're doing it on the street, so that's it.
How long did you stay in Philly?
In Philly till I was 2, and then I moved back and forth, like up until like elementary school, I would say.
Okay.
I was always going between Philly, New York, and Montreal, like all the time, because my cousins were in New York. So that's where I got a lot of influence from that culture as well. My dad was in Philly, and then my mom was here, so I was just kind of like going
Back and forth between all that.
all the time. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, this is quite, well, it's not personal at all. Since I've known you been to BMXing.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
And it's just like, do you feel like BMXing also played a part to like how you grew your culture, like the way you got into fashion and all
I would
that?
say that like we could definitely connect on that, like how skate culture
Very
really
much.
impacts like how you see fashion in a sense, you know what I mean? Because like whether the skaters like it or not, because like we've both seen skaters like be like, oh, like, I'm too cool, like I don't care what I wear, but they actually care. Like they're all capping. Like they care about how they look. Like they're doing this because like it was attracted to by there's their aesthetic. Like that's how they got like girls. Like
at the end of the day,
skaters
like
that we knew in high school. Like that's how it was, you know. So they cared about the clothes. We like Jaden and all of our friends at the time, like Supreme was like the highest skate brand or things like that. So we were just looking for the highest one, and that ended up being it. Like Supreme was like the almighty, and the things that trickled under that were like things that were more accessible around us. So I always tell this story too. When I was in New York, a lot of my family in New York is in Brooklyn. So I was just shopping around Brooklyn as like a 13, 14-year-old. But my cousins never really liked going to Manhattan because it's such a trek, like to get all the way out there.
Right.
And it's not really their scene. Like they rather stay more homebody. And I used to ask my cousin to be like take me to Supreme like from 14, like when I was 14 years old. And she was like, no, like you don't want to go all the way in Manhattan. Like we'll just show you something around here. And then like it prolonged like me getting into that or involved in that from like a young age, because I didn't have like my own means of going, like leaving from Flatbush, Brooklyn, like on your own to Manhattan, like as a 14-year-old, like definitely don't do that, especially if you're not from there. Like it's not safe. So eventually as I grew, I was able to like make my way out to Manhattan and like explore Soho, get involved in like all the like streetwear brands and everything like that. So yeah.
And it's cool how you're just like like although they didn't really, I'll say let you, but it's like the fact that you were still so knowledgeable about the
Yeah.
like the matter. It just shows like you had passion for it, which I find is really
was
cool.
my best friend. Like Tumblr and all that is like
Tumblr.
yeah, like Tumblr is like such a big influence on how I was raised. I guess like Tumblr and YouTube were like the two mediums I was always on, and then like from Tumblr it segmented into like or transitioned into Instagram.
Right.
But those two were like the things that influenced me so much when I'm a only child. Well, from my mom's side, I'm an only child, and like I had sisters on my dad's side, but like when you're by yourself, all you have is the internet. So
Honestly.
I was just getting influenced by everything that I had around me. So yeah.
And, like, nowadays, how do you feel about Supreme and just how it's changed so much over the years? What's your approach on that?
I feel like a lot of people kind of like take it as like a negative connotation. Like when they hear Supreme, they're like they think of that like scrawny kid with a box logo and like the newest Jordans or whatever. But
Right.
I don't know. I see it as kind of like a building block. Like I see where Supreme was needed in the growth of my fashion. I feel like everyone needs that brand to be like, oh, this is the aha moment, and then like what you do from then on is like kind of what you see from that person and like how they take fashion on a grander scale. So Supreme was kind of like my entry into the streetwear side.
Yeah,
of
that's what I was
things.
going to say. Like, especially in that time, like high school,
Yeah.
I feel like Supreme was at a point where like not everyone knew, but like a lot of people knew, and it's like majority the people that knew were people that are getting into fashion, or people like nowadays
Or
that are
into
more
culture.
into more into the culture, music, skating, like he said.
Yeah.
And for example, like also with music, like Tyler the Creator, for example, or
big
just the whole
influence.
squad,
Big
you know.
influence. Like huge. Like he was the reason why a lot of people around us were wearing Supreme because of the camp cap at like the VMAs and stuff
And
like
all that,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? So things like that were super impactful.
The iconic strap back
Yep.
with
all
the
of that.
Supreme box logo right on
Yes,
top.
all of those. Super impactful for like the whole streetwear side of things. A$AP Rocky too. Like,
It's just like music played a big influence, especially at a younger age. Like
Yeah.
the music that I listened to really like influenced, like I'll say like how I became now, you know?
Yeah, I would say like your main influences were like more like pro era, like Joey.
Yeah,
Badass
Joey
and everything,
Badass,
right?
stuff
So-
like that. Like
and
still like
reflects into
Brooklyn,
you.
Flatbush. It's funny, Flatbush, we were
Yeah,
talking about it. So
yeah.
were you like a big fan of like Flatbush Zombie?
I was, yeah, because funny story too, like Juice from Flatbush Zombies lives in the same building as my cousin. So like
Oh, that's cool.
I would see him all the time and just be like, who is this weird guy with like the
Multicolor.
bleached, like hair or whatever. So like I just didn't know who he was, and then later on like I figured out it was him. So it was pretty cool to just see him develop as a creative as well, like in his own right. So
It's honestly, it's cool, like, how can I say it? Like, just like these niche areas just kind of like blowing up, like prospering together, you know? It's like,
yeah.
But at the same time, it's kind of funny. Like from Flatbush, we saw a different rise. Like, recently, it's been drill that's been coming up from the exact same
Huge,
area, but
huge.
completely different sound, right? So just propping up different kinds of music is
So cool.
fascinating.
Yeah, I love the drill stuff right now. It's so influential to everywhere, especially like with God rest his soul, with Pop Smoke and everything
Yeah.
like that. Like he wasn't necessarily from Flatbush, I don't recall, but like that whole sound is just so impactful for the whole like UK drill everywhere. Like even
I mean,
New
the
York,
influence
all
it
over.
had, you
Yeah.
could just see everywhere.
And that goes
honestly.
into fashion too. Like all of this plays such a tight role into like impacting others. Like Pop Smoke probably taught a lot of other people how to carry themselves, like with dressing. You know what I mean? Like all the brands he's talking about, like Dior and Amiri. Like although they might not represent me the most, they might resonate with a lot of other people. You know, and to have that voice to like speak to other people and be like, this is how you should carry yourself is like I feel like it's very important. So yeah.
Possible
Carry
points.
on from there. How do you feel like Rick Owens kind of took over the mainstream recently? We've seen
with
that
fashion
more and
and stuff
more
like
in
that?
fashion, things like that.
Definitely
Feels like it's much more
interesting.
appropriate.
Yeah, it's definitely a
For
lot
wallet.
more appropriated now. I feel like because like at a certain time, like Rick Owens was looked at as like you're the weird kid if you're wearing
Yeah.
Rick Owens. Like you're kind of like the oddball, but now it's like you're the cool kid if you wear Rick Owens. So, but that's also for certain pieces. I still feel like Rick Owens has a niche of like, oh, it's gone a little too far. Like not everyone would wear like the fur boots, for example, from the Montclair collab. Like, but a person like Bloody Osiris could wear that. You know what I mean?
Or
So like
Lil
not
Uzi,
everyone, or Lil
who
Uzi,
just
you know what
posted
I mean?
that
There's
picture.
like certain
Yeah.
characters that embody that role wholeheartedly without like any second guessing. You know what I mean? So.
I mean, it's like what I feel with like Rick Owens. It's like a brand that is not. The clothes don't wear you. You have to wear the clothes. Because the second the clothes wear you, you look weird.
You could tell.
You could tell. Like you're not comfortable in it.
Yeah.
But like, for example, like the whole Playboy Cardi, Lil Uzi, their stance there whenever they're wearing Rick. It's like no one thought it was lame. Like, yeah, there's people that thought like, oh, this is kind of weird. Like, why you say it like that?
It's like a Converse.
Yeah, but it's just like they wore it with confidence. Like they wore the clothes, and I feel like that plays a heavy part in just like how people, I guess, perceive you in Rick Owens, you know.
Like when I got my first Rick piece was the Geo baskets back in like 2015, and I remember like walking with you guys in like Dawson, and like people would look at me weird, like because they're so big. Like it's just like not a shoe that you would see in 2015, you know. Like people would just be like, what are those moon boots? Or like I get like random like comments like that, you know what I mean? But, like
even back then, they were still like Rocky was wearing them. So
but it's still like
it was low key, right?
Yeah, it was still low key. Like they were wearing them, but it was like kind of like camouflage into their raps and things like that. Like some people would know, but not everyone would know. Like I think at the time people were more focused on easily accessible items. Like it would take a lot for a person to drop $1,300 on some shoes. Like it makes a lot of sense. Like some people would rather pay $80 and get the Guess collab rather than pay $1,300 and get Rick Owens because Rocky talked about it. You know what I mean? So.
I mean, just like back then, also the main focus wasn't really like Rick's. People would be talking about like G-Shock. I don't know what's really popular. It'll be like G-Shock, Supra. If anyone, is it Supra? Yeah, Supra.
Yeah.
If anyone remembers that, like it's just. I feel like era changed a lot. You can see.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But like, it's cool because like with Supra, you still. I don't know about you guys, but it still got kind of like a Rick feel because like Supra was still kind of out there, like super high cuts or like bigger tongues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So like
another big style inspo would be Lil Wayne too, because he's just kind of like definitely I don't look to him for style advice now, but like at that time it was like he was just breaking boundaries. Like I found out about Chrome Hearts through Lil Wayne and Jim Jones like back then, you know what I mean? So and that was just I didn't know the name, I just knew I liked the items like the wallet chains and the belts, things like that. I just remember seeing them vividly, like wanting those things, going to New York and then seeing like kind of dupes for them. And I didn't know what it was at the time, but then it kind of came full circle to me back in 2016, 2017, when I went to Las Vegas and there was the Chrome Art store there. And I was like, this looks so familiar. I was just talking to one of the guys working there. And he was explaining to me, he's like, oh, like what are some of like the things that you listen to? Because like a big thing for them is music and culture. So he's like, what are some of the things you listen to? He's like, I'm telling him the artist, like, oh, like I used to listen to Lil Wayne and stuff. He's like, oh, okay. So like he started connecting the dots for me, like, oh, like Wayne used to wear it, like Jim Jones used to wear it. I was like, oh, okay, so these are the things that they were wearing. I just didn't know the brand name at the time. So I always liked Chrome Hearts for like a while. It's just I didn't know the name and I wasn't following it as like closely. So but like to see it now, it's like
for real,
everywhere.
And like kind of out of nowhere too. It's like one day no one was talking about it, then the next day that's all you see on social media. It's like Chrome Hearts this, Chrome Hearts
and
that.
It's an accessibility thing. Like it ties back to what we were talking about before about like the whole Rocky. If you idolize Rocky, you would rather get the accessible thing rather than the thing that's like out of your means. So you get the Guess thing over the Rick Owens piece. So with Chrome Hearts, it's the same thing. Like I personally love like their woodworking and like their jewelry because that's what I personally bought into at first. Like my first Chrome Hearts piece is the two crosses that I have like on like here, like I wear them every day.
Right.
And those were expensive for me to invest in, but like I like the jewelry and like the woodworking before I like the clothing. And like the clothing is kind of just supposed to be like the branding aspect to the brand. It's not even what they're really known for. Like it started as like a biker brand, like they're more focused on leather goods. So everyone kind of being like, oh, the clothes are corny. It's like that's their billboard. Like they're not focused on the clothing. They're focused on making a table. They're focused on making like jewelry. So that's where I see Chrome Hearts right now. I know it's kind of looked at as corny right now, but I really like.
But I think it also ties in with like the Rick. Like people have been tying both of them up. But one thing that I personally noticed, I feel like it's been a stamp on like the new wave Playboy Cardi.
Yeah.
Since he started styling and when he started posting that Rick Owens, that's when people started catching on. That's when people
100%.
started buying
100%.
for sure.
Yeah.
And I feel like he kind of took over the fashion icon over Rocky for one.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
now it's a younger generation moving forward, and there's not too many people that are gonna look to Rocky for style advice right now. Because personally, right now, I feel like he's kind of like on his Kanye flow, where it's just like he'd rather be comfortable. Sure, he has style influence because he's grown up with this his whole life. He's gonna dress nice, but like the people that are gonna carry that umbrella for him are gonna be like the likes of like A$AP Nas, or like who you talked about before, Cardi, or like Ian, all these people. You know?
Well, it's just like what I find super cool about that is how like I wouldn't say A$AP kind of saw that coming, but it's like the way he took Cardi into Og.
Yeah,
It's
from
like
early. Yeah,
exactly.
With he too, like he sees a lot of things in people from young, and then he adapts it into the culture.
It's just like the fact that like now Cardi's like seen as a
Mega
fashion
star,
icon, you know,
yeah.
and it's just like it was the same way when Rocky was popping, you know, fashion killer. Everyone was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, now he's a certified like fashion man, you know.
And then now Cardi's doing like Givenchy campaigns and stuff.
Exactly.
Like that.
It's just
really
crazy.
cool to
It's
see.
like people really could see potential from way early. And I find that sick.
100%.
It's
Even
actually
seeing
sick.
how much they like changed his style is entirely different. But segmenting from there, how did you work with Ian Connor?
I had met Ian through Virgil. Abloh did a DJ set back in, I want to say 2015 too. Like that was kind of like a moment like where a lot of people were just kind of like interested in Montreal culture, like because we're big on nightlife out here.
Yeah.
So Ian had ended up coming for Virgil's DJ set, and through like mutual people, he was kind of interested just in, I guess, in the way I dressed and stuff like that. But I wasn't even like near where he was, so it was kind of weird that like that even happened. But he was like interested in how I dressed, and then we just ended up like connecting and like being really cool. So he's just like, yo, like you want to hang out with me for the rest of the time that I'm here. So we just started hanging out that way, and through that, like I ended up meeting Virgil that same night, which was really cool. Like he gave me a lot of like knowledge that I feel like a lot of people drag Virgil for, but I personally look up to him so much because he kicked down the door for a lot of black creatives doing the same thing that I'm doing, especially like when it comes to creating clothes and just like making a name for yourself. He kind of extends his hand to a lot of people, including like the likes of a Ian and all these people that like rub off under him, but like that even translated to me because like a person like Virgil knew a person like Ian, and then for a person like Ian to notice me, it's like I'm able to get into that door because of that person at the top.
Right.
You know what I mean? So without that, there's nothing. So I really respect Ian for allowing me to even just be in a room with like a person that's that idolized to a lot of people, and yeah, I respect Ian a
also
lot.
just that successful in life too.
Just like, and that was like early on. That was like when he was doing a lot more DJ sets. Like not even, he was even with Louis at the time, you know. So I
It's
really
just
respect
cool.
Ian.
Also, how I found like Virgil's pays attention to Montreal.
Yeah.
Like especially right now, I know there's a big song that with what's his name? I Am Skyfall.
Yeah, Skyfall.
Skyfall, yeah.
With
And
Yamasoto
on
our
it,
friend Angela. Yeah.
they made this song, and basically a bunch of like big people started paying attention to it. Like I know Georgia Smith, Virgil played. Virgil featured the song twice on his story. Apparently,
It's
is
doing
like
really good right now. Yeah,
from
I think it's at,
Montreal.
like 100,000 streams.
That's actually sick. Like congratulations to
Really
them.
good,
Honestly,
yeah.
big shout outs.
Yeah.
And it's cool. It's like also like you said, Yamasato Angelo, someone we knew from our high school too, which is like it just shows like I don't know, like what I was saying, like a niche. Like
yeah, it's like it would like
we prosper
not to like
as
gas
one.
ourselves,
Yeah.
but like we kind of like started somewhere. It's like sorry for touching the mic.
Oh, cool.
It's kind
Don't
of
do it
started
again.
from somewhere. I don't do it again. Started from somewhere, and then it kind of blossomed into something like really like amazing. And that started from like the likes of like a skate culture and like the love for music and fashion. All these things blend into one, and they come full circle. Like now, Angelo knows who Virgil is through like us being friends and like all of us being like in the culture, and for Virgil to be like, oh, this song is cool, play the song, and now it's like full circle,
it's
you know
just
what I
like
mean?
one
it's
straight
it's his
360.
version,
Yeah.
like, but I had that same version back when like I met Ian and with Virgil and everything like that too. So
It's just
crazy.
cool because like back in high school, we all just kind of clicked with music. For example, like I remember a point way before X blew up.
Yeah.
We'll go to a party. Party was really big for us in high school. But we'll go to a party and we'll play like "Look at Me," and then people will be like, "Turn that shit off," because they didn't like it.
Off,
and then like a full on year later, everyone's playing X. I feel like it was super cool because like a lot of times when I was hanging out with you guys, for example, I would be putting on music like way early. Like for example, like Made in Teal, Uber Everywhere. The first time I heard it. It was after you told me about it, and the music video had like 17K views, and now it's like one of his used to be his biggest song that like he released. And it's just crazy how I wouldn't say like I guess you could say we see trends before it even happens.
We're just able to like, if you're as in tune to the culture as a lot of kids, I feel like are, hopefully, or like if they're similar to us, then you're gonna have that ear close to whatever's going to be hot next before a lot of people see it, and that's just through genuine appreciation of other people's crafts, and that we saw that with Made in or Made in Tokyo or whatever, a lot of other creatives too. So it's crazy to see X especially. Like I remember those times where we would be at parties and people would be like, you know, like actually turn that off. Like they thought it was like horrible, and then a year later, like people are jumping.
Still listening to songs crazy. We were like listening to, like what Craig Zan was big for us. I mean, a lot of people. We spent a lot of time just like hanging out and just listening to music. Or for example, like a lot of our friends now are rappers, producers, blah blah blah. We'll freestyle. Go to like our friend's house. We're in the basement, and then they'll drop an instrumental. It's legit just us in a circle just freestyling, and it was super cool. And it just shows like it's like how far you could go with your friends. You know, it's like at the end they kept doing what they love doing. Like a lot of them now are into music and they're doing good. So I'm just happy to see that also.
For sure.
Speaking of friends from the local community, YouTube community, you worked with on Sounds Rag on an internship. How was that? How did that go?
I actually interned for Silver League because Untied Rags wasn't a part of, like, it wasn't developed yet. But interning for Silver League was really, really, really fun. Like I respect Fernando for allowing me to do that too, because it was a way of like doing my school, but like in the funnest way possible, because everyone in my grade was like, or in my class rather, was doing their internships, but local. And I was like, there's nothing here. Well, there are nice brands here, but I was like, I could do something even more beneficial to me. And I was like the furthest to do I was the furthest person to like go. Like I think I was the only person that went to the States. The other person in my class that went the furthest was like a person that went to Toronto, and like I was the only person that went to LA. So when I went, it was just like I saw an opportunity that I was able to network while at the same time get the internship done, because it was a part of my school, and then also like just have like an ear to like-minded people that I've grown with on the platform as well on YouTube, because Fernando and Jacob and all these people I've met on YouTube just as internet friends, and like we've just FaceTime for so long, so many years now, and now to actually finally like meet them, like I met Fernando in New York a couple of years prior to me interning for him, and the same thing with Jacob. I met him briefly in LA before that as well, like just for a couple minutes, but I've never actually like hung out with them for a long time and like really like get to know these people that are so like-minded as myself, and really get to understand why we're so similar. And through understanding that, you kind of see their creative process and how similar it is to yours, and like different like tips that you can adapt to yourself. Like for me, like pricing was something that I learned through them. You know what I mean? Like I didn't know what to charge brands for like sponsorships and stuff, and I was hearing the numbers that Fernando and Jacob were doing. I was like, damn, I'm undercutting my stuff like so much. But it's like knowledge that you only acquire through experience, you know what I mean? And you can't change that at all without actually going out there and hanging out with these people. Like the internet can only give you so much, but once you're actually in person and interacting with these other characters, that's what you actually get to learn in person. And just like seeing Jacob's brand blow up, like the Cargos is when I kind of met him at that time, and like seeing
the Cargos were sick. I remember his Cargos.
Yeah, like Travis Scott wearing them and everything like that, and just like seeing how they've kind of like inserted themselves in the culture, and like having Travis being like obsessed with whatever they're doing, like whether it be like Silver League, whether it be Jacob's Cargo's, like they both had a hand in like developing Travis's style, so it's really cool.
Especially how far Travis has come. Like, wow.
Yeah.
Another fun fact. You put me on Travis.
Yeah.
The first time I ever heard Travis was at his concert that Kyron invited me to back in like 2014, 2015. I never heard a song of Travis. It was just like this stage of life where we were just going to concerts. Like every month there was just like a different concert.
Like pre-rodeo?
Yeah, pre-rodeo, yeah.
That was days before rodeo.
Okay.
Era, I would say. Yeah. But
Like
I
it was
found out about Travis through Alfaro time, I would say.
Like
That's
Monster and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
More like more like Cruel Summertime.
Okay.
Because like he'd had that song. I think he was like producing for Kanye at the time, and that's when I think he was on BET or something, and they're all wearing white. And then I see Travis, I was like, who is this guy? And then I started paying attention a bit more closely, and then
it's just his whole story, like his whole come up is crazy to me.
But then that's another person that like I just seen him develop, like not only stylistically with his music, but like stylistically as like fashion too. It's like I've seen him in like Hood Buyer to now like Helmet Land, like 1999
Very true, yeah.
flight jackets and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So it's like I see where he was then and to now, and like to see myself from then to now. It's like it's really cool to just look back on. You know,
It's just like now you could tell that he's like a staple for like influence.
Yeah.
Like we could talk about like SBs, for example, whereas like SB wasn't as big, and then boom, Travis Scott started wearing SBs, and the prices for SBs just went up. Everyone wants SBs now.
But I also feel like even a more accessible thing like cargo pants, I'm 100% sure it's associated to him. That's why they were pretty accessible, and everyone started wearing them like super crazy, probably because of
100%. It's so crazy to see. Look back at it. Yeah. Oh yeah. Speaking of
let's play.
That's a good little segue actually. I was a little bit late to the podcast, but it's fine because I was going to the post office to pick up Trevor's shoe. So I just figured I might as well show it on the channel. It's pretty cool.
Yeah,
the slugs. Give Trevor a little plug right here. This is like his take on the Paris SBs, and I just figured it was cool to have it on the podcast with you guys. If you guys want to hold it, you can hold it too. Because you guys come from like a sneaker background, so it was cool to just like incorporate them on the podcast. Let you guys go and see.
Phenomenal.
It's actually a beautiful shoe.
Yeah. I really hope that Nike won't disrespect him and send him with a lawsuit or something.
Yeah, I know. He's been on a good flow though so far.
Yeah, he's been good. Getting own artists in order to make his own pair.
Yeah,
cool stuff.
Especially with like everything that he's doing, it's like not too similar. It's like enough of a differentiation. I feel like so maybe that's why they're not coming after him. But I love everything he does, like with the product he's been producing so far. So it's really cool.
And like with this whole new on the topic of like the SBs or someone like on the whole new idea of like redesigning a certain model, how do you guys like really feel about it?
How do you feel?
I feel I'm pretty up for it as long as it's original designs. Like this was the first pair I noticed were the Chicago's from Fugazi. Yeah. When I first saw them, I immediately was like super appreciative, and I saw the pair, all the details. I was like, this is fine. This goes into it. Feels like an artist's work rather than just like blatant copy.
Yeah, it's rather than like slap it and
exactly
make
a
product to sell.
So as long as it's really feels like a proper artist's work, I'm up for it. If it's not just blatantly ripping off. Yeah,
it's more of an interpretation on a classic silhouette rather than like a person just slapping their logo on something. You know what I mean? Like it takes a lot of time to develop something like this. Like a lot of people are just like quick to say Trevor's like an Alibaba designer, which is like so disrespectful to me because like that takes so much time and effort, and like people don't realize like how much creative power it takes to make a shoe like this. You know what I mean? Like I think a lot of people just see the product at the end of the day, and then they're like, okay, great, like give me the shoes. They don't get the shoe. Fuck you, Trevor. Like I don't care. Like you know what I mean? Like it shouldn't be about that. It should be a lot I feel like a lot of people should appreciate the designer more.
For sure. I mean, it's kind of sad because like the OG sneaker community are kind of, most of them are against it, and you can see on Facebook groups like people trying to sell their pairs or just trying to have the discussion, and immediately just huge backlash like this is disgusting, send those back to the fake factory and stuff like that. When that's not the point of the product, and it's just something completely different.
I mean, I feel like we should have more of things like this because like these breed like amazing like creators. At the end of the day, like for example, Bape. You could be say it's the same thing. They took a silhouette that was already popular and added their own twist, you know? I feel like the fact that people are taken away from the idea of like, it's still a creative process. Like, if I gave you the same silhouette, what would you do with it? You know?
And Nigo was just as inspired by that culture as anyone else, if not even more, because like you could just see how much he appreciates things, you know what I mean? Like if you watch like any of his complex stuff where he's like housing type 2 denim jackets from like the 70s that are like, it costs like $3,000 for a denim jacket, you know what I mean? It's like in storage units next to like an ET statue or something like that. Like he appreciates Americana to like the highest scale, so like why not let him do a flip on a American shoe that he's loved so much? So like it's his version of it, and his world is just like so crazy to me. Like I used to rewatch the Nigo like house tour all the time.
I was about to talk about the house tour. His house is crazy.
Yeah, insane.
So nice.
Insane. Like, and he had 2 homes at that time because he had too many things. So it was a 2-part thing. Yeah.
Imagine having so much clothes and like shoes that you need a second place.
That's crazy.
Like my first place is just for my clothes. This is my actual house. And smaller. It's like what?
Yeah, he had a full fridge of like just dummy. Remember, he had like the dummy fridge of just like the fake ice cream, like crazy.
Why not?
Yeah, just like a fridge just for fake ice cream. He was living in his own world, definitely crazy.
I mean, it's inspiring.
Yeah.
Also, it's just.
Yeah. I feel like current Bape is definitely not the same. Like that's why I like Human Made a lot more.
Most definitely.
It's just like more of a representation of him now, and also I can appreciate it a lot more now because like I'm kind of into like Western wear and like cowboy boots and flare pants and stuff like that too. So like, I can appreciate where he's coming from, like the whole Americana thing. So.
And with your evolution of like style, for example, how you saying like now, back in the days you were wearing like Supreme, whatever, Rick Owens, stuff like that. Now you're more into like cowboy boots, flare pants. How would you say like what influenced you to just get more like outgoing with your fits?
Just realizing that the only way to know what you like is through trial and error and through consuming. Like that's the only way to do it, because seeing things online, you could just think that you like a whole bunch of things without even knowing, because like a lot of our perception is conditioned,
right?
And you could see a certain something a lot of times, and that might make you think that you like something, but you actually don't. So the only way I was able to get through that process was buying a shitload of clothes, you know what I mean? So and I showed that through my channel. Like you could see the different faces that I have, and people might boil it down to beast like, oh, Kyron's a hype beast or whatever, but like I really don't really see that, because if anything, I don't like, I can see my style progressing, and I feel like this is the most solidified my style has ever been in a very long time, and I'm really starting to get comfortable with what I like. It might be very versatile, because one day I could be in cowboy boots and flare pants, the other day I could be in 99% this like bungee pants with like a bunch of baggy clothes, the other day I could wear like majority all black Arc'teryx, and like it has so much variety, but to me it's consistent because it's everything I like.
Right.
So I don't know. That's kind of where I leave it, you know?
I mean, would you give any advice to someone that's, would say like they're not comfortable with how they dress yet?
I would say they should, if they're having a hard time buying into trends, they should probably unfollow everyone that they see as an influencer, including myself. Like that's a big thing. Like I'll say it firsthand. If I'm the one conditioning you how to dress, and you feel like you don't know if you genuinely like it or not, or if I'm actually being helpful, like there's 2 different sides of that spectrum, you know what I mean? So it's important to actually see that and be like, am I influenced by this person for the good or the wrong reasons? Like, am I copying them like head to toe because I can't think for myself, or am I like taking their word for a grain of salt and like implementing it into how I actually see the world, or like see an outfit, things like that, you know? So like even for you, like I learned about Arc'teryx through you like years ago. I didn't buy into it for a long time because things are expensive. This jacket is like close to $1,000, but it's not cheap, you know. So like, but you bought into it years ago, and it's lasted you
the longest
till now,
jacket.
you know what I mean?
I think close to 8 years
now.
now.
Why it's worth it? Like there's certain things like that, like buying into the cowboy boots. I always liked them, but then now I found one that I actually like. Is gonna last me the rest of my life. So it's like finding certain things that are just gonna last through everything. Yeah.
I mean, also like going back to like, for example, you talk about like buying GeoBasket while we were like in CJUP.
Yeah.
It's just like, how were you able to like afford things? Did you have like a saving plan? Were you just like?
I was mainly like just
hustling?
YouTube was very helpful with me. Like, was just like getting different opportunities, and like my main goal with it was like I just knew clothes was everything I loved at the time.
Right.
I didn't know the end goal at the time either. Like I didn't know what opportunities that could stem from YouTube because it was so young. But I did know that I wanted to be involved with fashion in some type of degree, and it was showing and proving. If I invested in myself, whether it be like a pretty expensive shoe, I wouldn't pay retail. I'd try and find a way to get it for way lower. Like I didn't pay retail for my GeoBaskets, but just seeing it as like an investment in yourself rather than you just buying clothes, because I feel like a lot of people buy clothes and it's for the wrong reasons because you're spending all this money without an end goal. Like I could see buying into items if you're an artist, like if you're a rapper and you have to build this character, that makes sense. That could be an expense. If you're a creator like me on a platform like YouTube, you have to buy these items in order to show it to the world, do your review on it, get the content out of it, then other people are able to interact with it, then you're making money off of the items that you bought tenfold, you know what I mean? So, and yeah, that's the way I see it. It's more of an investment into the closet that I have right now. I tend not to consume too much anymore. Everything that I do get in is either thrifted or it's gifted to me. And if I am buying it, it's because I've wanted it for a very long time. So yeah.
That's actually sick. It's cool how like I feel like your parents plays an important role of how like people perceive you. Like for example, like rappers.
Yeah.
The reason they get these big chains is because you're trying to persuade a lifestyle that makes you want to live that lifestyle too. That's why.
Like they always say, marketing is a big reason why they get those big chains.
Yeah. And that's why like I feel like the role of being a stylist, like that's one that I've not come up with, but like I've adapted over the past year or two. It's like it's very critical in developing a lot of people's personalities, personas, whether it be musical artists or whether it be anyone for that matter. Like clothing is such a really big key in like cascading this image for a person, and I've had my hand in like helping out some artists like find their groove and what they want to show to the world, and it's really cool to see because you can see how clothing really impacts a perception of a person. You know what I mean? Like you can see like, oh, like Casey's wearing this is what he gives off to the world, you know? And then like that's how you could kind of like see what an artist is. So
another person I wanted to bring up is you're working with Ray and Ore in New York. How has that been? How long have you been working with them?
Since way back, like 2015. When did I drop my cream jacket? 2015.
I'm pretty sure it's 2015 around.
So yeah, like maybe 20. Actually,
could be 2015. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's 2015. Yeah,
2015, something around. Like that. So
a cold letter.
I've known Ray since way back. Like he dropped this hat called the Rumble Rose hat, and it was just this rose on like a snapback hat at the time, and these snapback hats were like blowing up all over like Tumblr era at the time. Like 40 Ounce Fan was another person that kind of capitalized on this whole like snapback hat wave, and the Rumble Rose hat was like that for Montreal, and you couldn't see a Filipino kid without wearing this hat at the time. You know what I mean? It was everywhere, like tens of these hats in the street at a time. I was always seeing them, and I didn't know it was Ray's hat. So I met Ray at a Roje music video shoot. So shout out to Roje. So he was trying to have like a bunch of like talented creatives that like in his music video, like just like fashion kids, whatever it may be, just to like fill it up, make it look cool. And Ray was invited to that. I didn't know he was, and then I was invited to that too. And we kind of just met there, like clicked up because he was like, oh, I've never seen anyone wear RAF in Montreal, like ever, because I had like the 2-strap sneakers, or like the 3, the connected one at the time, and he had the Geo baskets on, and I was like, we just clicked through that, just like the appreciation of high-end fashion and streetwear. And then he's like, bro, like honestly, like I haven't connected with a person that was like this similar to me in a very long time, because his mom is from here and his dad's from New York. My mom's from here and my dad's from Philly. Like we were very similar. So the only other collab he did was with a person in Japan for a clothing store, and then he's like, bro, like I really want to collab with you. Like I feel like we could create something really cool, and we've been collabing ever since. Like he's been like a really big help in like helping me like condition the way I design, or like see garments and like really know what you want to produce, rather than like hopping on trend and just making a trend because like you know it's gonna sell. So like it's really helped me in knowing what I want to make as far as like creative endeavors that I'm going to be investing in the future, which I'm hoping by November I could have some type of product out, hopefully. Okay, yeah. That's like what I'm working on currently. But yeah, he's been a really big help in that whole process for sure. Like,
that's actually
shout out
sick.
to Ray. And to see him like on the platform now, like I've been telling him to do YouTube for so long. I'm so happy that he's doing it now. It's really cool.
And with like this product you're talking about, would this be your first like official self like product, like you selling it on your own, just you?
Just me by myself. Yeah.
And how does that feel just coming up?
It's crazy to see like full circle, like for it to like just be me on my own now, like now all eyes are on me, like there's no like diffusion at all, you know what I mean? So it's exciting, it's scary, it's like a bunch of emotions at once. So I'm just excited for like people to kind of see it. Like I'm giving my mental note to be November, just so that there's like enough time in between in case there's things that happen, because with COVID-19 things could happen with production, or like I don't know, like you never know. Tomorrow's never promised. So so yeah, I'm just excited to like really dive into that space. Like I've always never wanted my brand to only be a brand, like a clothing brand. I've always wanted it to be like very art driven. I want to get into gallery work eventually, with under the same umbrella of the brand name. So like gallery work, producing film and clothing. Like that's the main. Like that's where I see myself after, not even after YouTube, because like who knows? Like maybe I'll have someone filming the behind the scenes. And like I really love sharing my life. Like that's been a medium that has followed me since the MX era, as we've been talking about it. I've been filming myself since.
I mean, your vlogs be doing well. I've seen a couple of your vlogs.
Yeah, so it's just like I'm always gonna share what I've been doing. I don't know for how long, but I just want people to tag along for the journey. It should be cool. And
like 5 years from now, you still see yourself in Montreal?
Yeah, I think this will always be home. I've always dabbled with the idea, because I have a dual citizenship. I could definitely go to like LA for a year, or New York for a year, like just to like be productive and get stuff done. But other than that, I always feel like this is home. And the only thing that was scary for me is like the language of French. Like I was so scared of like me being a creative out here, and like I wasn't the greatest at French, and like how do I make a career path not knowing the language that well? And it's been fine, like because all of my work has been online and like doing my own things, so I haven't had to be in that setting where I've been like uncomfortable. Stuff, so like so there's ways of going around it. So all that to say, I definitely feel like I'll stay here for the most part, but travel to get things done for sure.
I feel that. Yeah. Any dream country to visit? Random?
Tokyo for sure.
Tokyo?
I mean, because
100%.
Yeah. And I've never been. I also never been to Europe. I'm planning on going in the summer with my girlfriend. So
cute.
We'll see if that happens.
Yeah.
Shout out to her. That was a birthday gift. That was fine.
What parts? What parts of Europe?
Paris.
Paris?
Yeah,
Ooh, that's sick.
I think she's going to Spain, and then she's going to meet me in Paris.
So that's going to be sick.
Yeah.
Wow.
Really, really cool.
Have you ever, like, any countries you've been to that you would want to revisit?
I've been to Belize. That's like where my mom's from. I would love to go back to Belize. Trinidad as well. That's where my dad's from. I'd love to go there. Any tropical stuff right now, because like it's winter. I haven't been to anywhere tropical in a very long time. I was supposed to go to Mexico before the pandemic, so like that sucked too. So like I don't know, like Bahamas, like Turks and Caicos, something like that.
Jamaica.
I
want to go to Jamaica.
Jamaica.
Jamaica's beautiful. Definitely you should go.
Great food.
My opinion though for Jamaica, if you want to go to Jamaica, I say don't go to a resort. Cause like the resort is a watered down.
Safe, eh?
Look, I mean when I say that, I mean like, hey, get a villa instead of just cause like you can still walk around the city, you know. It's just like be wary because sometimes it gets rough out there. You know, roadmans be out there, fam. But like, it's just the resort is a very watered down version of Jamaica. They show you the best parts, you know. You don't even get the best food, to be honest.
Like when I went, I stayed in a resort, but my dad made sure to take us out every day. Like we would go on like wild horses through the mountains. And stuff like that. So it was like
I have a funny story. So basically, my dad's from Jamaica, and he was building a house in Jamaica, but he didn't tell me that. So he was like, Casey, you want to come to Jamaica? I was like, oh yeah, why not? You know? He's like, don't worry, we're staying resort. I'm like, oh, okay, it's blessed. You know, I'm young. I'm like, I don't want to be in the countryside, whatever. So we're on the plane. We're going. We get to Jamaica. We get on this big, like, white van, with just filled with people. I'm, like, squished between, like, my dad and some random lady. Like and we're going... It's horrible. I understood when they mean sardines in a can. I understood what they meant. So, like, we go through this mountain, 3 hours in this car, and... I realized that, like, wait, aren't resorts supposed to be, like, close to the, like, airport, whatever? So now I'm, like, kind of worried. I'm like, what kind of resort is he bringing me to? We pass a sign. It says resort. Population, 35 people. It was the area's name. And, like, when I tell you I'm deep in the country, Like, mosquitoes this big, I was not having it until, like, day 3. And then he was like, look, you know what? Let's start doing things. And, like, we went out, and it's really fun. It's just, like, I went to this restaurant where they legit caught a fish in front of you and cooked it in front of you. It was just, like, the experience is way different than being at a resort.
That's awesome. So my parents thought I got kidnapped when I went to Jamaica because I didn't have data on my phone. And my strict instructions were, like, when you get to Jamaica, don't go anywhere, your dad's gonna pick you up. When I get there, I see everyone that's on my flight like walking in the same direction, so I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna follow them. So just like I'm walking, and then I see them all going towards this guy with a sign. So I'm like, okay, let me follow the guy with the sign. And I'm like, where are they going? He's like, oh, I have a bus, I'm taking them all to the resort. I was like, okay, cool, I'll go on the bus. I completely forgot about what my mom said about staying at the airport. So I go on the bus. I haven't communicated with my parents because I was about to go to customs. They're like, put your phone away. Put my phone away. After I get out of customs, I see the guy with the sign, so I still didn't take my phone out. So now I'm on this bus. I'm like, damn, this is a long bus ride. It's like 2 hours. So by this time, I'm in the grill or whatever. I get out, and I'm like, bro, like, they're going to trip because I didn't know this bus was going to take so long. I get there. I asked them for the Wi-Fi. They're like, we can't give you the Wi-Fi unless you check into your room. I'm like, I'm not the person checking into my room. It's my dad. So I'm there for another 45 minutes. It's been 3 hours now. I haven't talked to my parents. Then I see my dad and my sisters walk in to check in. I tap my dad on the shoulder. And I'm like, hey, I'm here. He, like, punches me in the arm. He's like, where the fuck were you? Like, what the hell? Like, your mom's been crying on the phone. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? But that was my funny story about Jamaica. My mom was crying. She got kidnapped by like some guy with a machine.
Actually, so intense. Your mom's just like, yo, where's my son? It's like calling your dad. Your dad's like, yo, I don't know. He was supposed to be here. He ain't here. It's like, wow. All you did was follow the cha-cha line.
Just like,
hey, let's go to the bus. Magical school bus vibe. It's so funny. But yeah, Jamaica is a beautiful place. Honestly, if you haven't been, I say you should go at least once.
If there's one tropical area I want to see is Jamaica. In general, I'm not too keen on traveling to tropical locations just because it feels kind of not that much of an experience. Okay. And you can go to, like, I don't know, Europe or Asia with not even Europe, more like Asia, which would feel much more like
culture shocks.
Yeah, exactly. Much bigger culture shocks. But Jamaica, of all country, particularly because of the food, I just want to go and appreciate.
Food is such a big part of like traveling.
This is so random, but do you say curry chicken or chicken curry?
Curry chicken.
Curry chicken?
Yeah,
okay, because I know that's a big debate.
A lot of people say chicken curry if they're from Asia, I would say.
Okay.
Because it's like a big thing to say that, chicken curry.
Yeah.
Chicken curry katsu is like what I would hear.
Okay, yeah. Super random. Yeah. Just want to know.
So any tips for content creation or upcoming content creators?
I would say, it's very cliche, but consistency is very important. And like, we were talking about this off camera, but like, you don't know until you actually indulge yourself into whatever content creation you want to do. So like, you guys have been talking about doing this podcast for a long time, and until you actually gear up to actually do it, that's when you're going to start it. So like, you could talk about, I'll do it in the summer, do this and that. Like me, I gave myself that end goal of like creating product for November, because like I want to fucking do it. Like I don't want to like tiptoe around it anymore. Like people have been telling me I should make clothes for forever. Like I want to do it now, and like if I never do it now, I'm gonna regret it. So if you're hesitant about creating content or like starting a YouTube channel, Instagram, putting outfits together, like don't care about anyone else, like just do it. Like you will never know until you try, and then once you try and you see it kind of working, or maybe it's not even working, give it a few more tries, and the consistency will prevail.
Honestly, what I believe, the first step is just the scariest step. Once you take that first step into it,
off the cliff.
Yeah,
that's it.
And then the rest, you just realize it's easy.
Jump off the cliff, and then you enjoy the rest of your time in Jamaica.
That was great.
Analogy.
Just personal question. Do you think you're going to do a collection, or you want to come out with a single item?
I'm taking drop method. I'm doing the drop method.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm thinking the first release will be like a capsule collection, just so that people could get a feel of what the brand is about and what I'm about as a creative. Just because I feel like it's a little too jaded to judge on one product. So it'll be a capsule collection for the first release, and then after that, every release will be like 1 to 2 items max. And yeah, that's like the method I'll be going. Yeah. I feel like collections are kind of a thing of the past, unless you're like a really big, massive brand. Like you don't really need to do it per se, because it kind of gets lost in translation. Like you present 20 items, and then a person's naturally only going to buy 2 or 3. No one's buying all 20, so you might as well just show what you love and condense it, and then just kind of spread it out over time. And then that kind of helps you, because when you boil it down to those amounts, maybe all that 20 items that you were going to drop, you look back at it a couple of years from now, you're like, damn, I didn't even really need to drop that, or it was kind of just filler. Like it didn't really have much substance. So it allows me to kind of like sit on something I've designed for a couple years now. Like I've had things that I've designed since 2016 that I'm going to release now, and like I didn't, maybe over the years, like some years I'd be like, I love this, some years I hate this, but like it's still there, and you could always revisit it, you know what I mean? So it's really important to take
and
that.
I feel like most of the time there's always like 3 or 4 items maybe out of the entire collection that are actual crowd favorites, like and they get super sold out, of course, and then the rest is just kind of there and doing nothing.
Yeah, so you might as well, why not have your whole collection of heaters? You know, that's like my method.
I mean, it's easier just to work on a few pieces. You could put all your time into those
also,
pieces.
Financially too, like I'm not LVMH, you know what I mean? I don't have friend like Mr. Lugo like behind me, like giving me all the money, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, it's beneficial on my side. It's beneficial in the creative aspect of things. So
honestly, I'm just excited to see like what you have in works. To be honest,
because we all are.
It's been time coming. It's been
a long time
waiting.
And if you've seen like the impact of Ori, which felt like a New York brand, and like on the local scene in Montreal, a lot of kids got pairs and have been enjoying the fuck out of them.
Yeah,
they're really cool.
Them,
so you got that same kind of influence. People will be rocking with it. So
man, I'm just excited to see.
Don't be scared.
Just see it in the field, you know.
Don't be scared of numbers. Like it'll work. Just come out with a good product, and people are going to support 100%.
Definitely.
I mean, you got 2 supporters here already.
There you go.
Thank
Honestly,
you, man. I appreciate you guys. For real.
But then, I mean, where can people find you if they want to find your stuff?
My YouTube is my name, so it's KYRON space WARRICK, Kyron Warwick, and my Instagram is GOTSWEIGE. That's Scott Swage on Instagram.
I mean, before we end it, where did you get that name, God Swage? It's a dope name.
It was from high school. Like there was this girl in class, I forget her name. I don't know. She was like annoyed from the word swag. I think like people were just like trolling, like kind of like deli status.
You're right. Yeah.
Like, they were just like saying swag too much, and she's like turned around and tripped out. She was like, "Yo, like shut the hell up! Like stop saying that." And I was like trolling her back. I was like, I bet you I can make a word just as like annoying as swag. I was painting with beige, so I just made it swage, and then like I just used it the whole week, and then by the end of like the week after that, like people in other sects that not like sec as in like
high school grades,
other sects were using it too. I didn't even know. So like it just like it was like a play on influence. Like it wasn't like I have swag. It was like got influence. Like,
oh,
God,
that's
like,
sick.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That's
So
actually dope.
that was around the same time I made my YouTube channel. So yeah.
Damn. Well, I mean, do you have any other thing?
I'm good.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for calling
Thank you for having me.
Great
I appreciate it.
Great
Really
talk.
good conversation.
Honestly,
I
thank
appreciate
you.
it. Yeah.
Thank you, boss.